Good to see everybody this morning. For our visitors, we're having a little different way of doing things this morning. We were appointed elders. We vowed that we would be open and transparent as much as we could. So this is part of that. My part of this is we're going to be looking back at 2025. Kind of struggle a little bit on the timing of when to do this. We don't know first of the year if we do it. We're already into 2026, but 2025 hadn't ended yet. So we picked close to the end of the year to try to wrap 2025 up, and then to begin 2026. First part of this is going to be talking a little bit about our money. Everything that I will tell you is on that board right back there, so you can stop and look at it anytime. All the figures that I will give you will be up until the end of November, because we're not done with December yet. But beginning with number one, we've spent $71,479 on evangelism so far this year. That's week to week. Gospel meetings, that's including Ladies' Day for our guest speakers. $12,068 went to that. Class materials, teaching supplies, $5,659 went to that. Office and general expenses, $4,882. Advertising and promotion for our gospel meetings, Ladies' Day, Welcome Back Western, $9,370. That's a lot of money, but we have enough surplus from what was left over. We ran out of supplies in 2024. We vowed we would not run out of supplies in 2025. We almost have enough supplies today for Welcome Back Western in 2026. So that is an expense that we have already paid. It will be very minimal next year as far as that part goes. That is a lot of money, but as you know, there are almost no services that we have had since then that we have not had visitors from that. I think it was money well spent. We have talked about that in elders and deacons meeting. What kind of price do you put on a soul? And I don't think we can. So that's something that we, as Brad will probably allude to, something that we're planning on doing again in 2026. Benevolence, we have spent $3,000 on benevolence. The next column that we will look at will be a little bit about our building. We have paid up to the end of November $27,530 in interest on this building. On principal, we have paid $105,975 this year on principal. Building equipment repairs and maintenance, $15,401 have been spent up until the end of April. Equipment and furnishings, $3,693. Next one will be electric, water, sewer, sanitation, gas, and internet service. $12,097. It takes a lot of money to run a building this size, but we have been very blessed. As of the beginning of December, our total debt on this building is now $390,000. We started out at $555,000. And we want to thank Larry. He oversees that. What we try to do, we'll be open and transparent. We try to keep $25,000, which is not a lot of money, but we try to keep that in treasury from week to week to operate on. And then we will make expenditures as needed. Sometimes that does not float up to $25,000, but we'll talk about it. Hey, we need to do this. But that is kind of our goal, and Larry helps us keep up with that. He does an excellent job. I want to thank everyone from leadership for your efforts this year. This is a working church. We've got people doing something. We've got people that are teaching. We've got people that are cleaning the building. We've never paid for anyone to clean this building since we've been here. Helping to organize things, construction, things that are being added and replaced and changed, maintaining the building. maintaining the property, hosting Bible studies, and other events. By the way, if you're not involved and would like to get involved, you can see me, Brad Wood, into the deacons. We've got a lot to do, and we would love for you guys to join us in those efforts. We had some new classes that we started last year. We had a young adults class. It started second quarter. That's something that I think has been a tremendous success for anyone that has been associated with that. If you get a chance to teach that, jump at the opportunity. It is very rewarding to teach. That is kind of an age group from 18 up to early 30s. And I think it has been a great success. We also had a ladies' class last year. It met over here in the house. Of course, I was not able to be there, but everything that I heard about it was very good. And that's something that we very possibly may look into try to doing again in the future. Also, we had a ladies' day this year for the first time. That was in September. I think we had a little over 100 people to attend that. We had 4 ladies that came and spoke: Alina Brown, Deborah Brewer, Dana Carosa, and Jennifer Maxey. From everything that I understand, it was a tremendous success. And then this year, 2025, our Welcome Back Western was much bigger than what we had ever done before. But then again, like I stressed, we are still seeing people that are coming here visiting with us from that. We had 2 gospel meetings last year, if you remember. Paul Sheehan was here earlier, and then Chris Emerson was back. Both of these men did a fantastic job proclaiming the gospel. Brad will let us in. We've already got dates and people slated for 2026. That's something that we need to definitely be looking towards and praying about. Romans 12:5, the first part of that scripture, says that we are to rejoice with those who rejoice. And we definitely had a lot to rejoice about in 2025. We had 5 responses to the obeying the gospel. Jack Owens was baptized in March. Asher Brunk was baptized in March. Jaden Botts was baptized in April. Jenna Vaughn in April. Riker Heath in September. And Tracy was also baptized this year. That's number 6. So we had 6 instead of 5. And that's certainly something that we celebrate with anytime that someone obeys the gospel. It is a joyous, joyous occasion. But the end of that verse also says to weep with those who weep. 2025 was also a hard year, a very hard year. Many of us here have and are currently suffering great loss. We had to say goodbye to many loved ones, something that it's been so hard. Also, we had many that have endured injuries, surgeries, sickness. We have had many people that have had diagnosis of diseases. Some of them are even enduring treatment at this time. That's something that we can all be praying about, and I know that you are. But it is certainly been a hard year. As a matter of fact, Brad and Jim and I were speaking before the beginning of 2025, and that was something that Brad and Jim warned us about. We had a lot of success here in 2024. We still had a lot of success in 2025, but the devil's not going to rest. We were expecting things to come up, and we had a lot of things to come up. We also shared the loss of a sister and 2 brothers here. Susie Harden, best way for me to describe her, was an encourager. She always had a smiling greeting for everyone. If you ever received a card from Susie, treasure it. Hang on to it. It will always bring a smile to your face, warmness to your heart. Angie and I have a pot holder Susie made hanging on our refrigerator. I see it daily, and I think of her daily. Just a reminder of her. Jim Whiteside. Describing him, I think of a wisdom and a rock. He loved this place and all of you so much, it's hard for me to even describe. The last time that I talked to him, he couldn't wait to get back. Said he had a sack full of candy he had to pass out to the kids here. We miss him every day. His main concern, even through his sickness, was for everyone here. I can remember each and every time that me and him and Brad would get together and have a discussion or make a decision, he would always say, "We got to get this right. Everyone is counting on us." And there's not a time that me and Brad get together and talk about making a decision that I can't hear Jim in my mind. We got to get it right. And then Brian. Brian, best way I can describe him as a worker. As soon as Brian and his family placed membership here, he went to work. You can see him everywhere. The sign out front, the Bible box out front, the advertisement in the window, logos for Riverstone. He helped oversee the lower grade classes. He was working constantly. And as a matter of fact, he had a big part in organizing and setting up the Welcome Back Western. He loved being there. He was in his element. Brian and Jennifer made a homemade card for Angie to help encourage her. It's on the wall in our closet where she goes to pray. I see it every day. Excuse me. Think of all that he did. All three of them had such influence on Riverstone. That influence continues to this day. Riverstone wouldn't be what it is without them. But we know they've gone on to their reward, and we rejoice with them. I want to close this morning with Galatians 6, chapter 2. Paul, writing there, tells us to bear one another's burdens and in thereby fulfill the law of Christ. Thank you. I think Brad has got some things that we're going to be looking forward to in 2026, so I'm going to give the floor to him.
Thank you, Todd. We've gotten to a signpost in the service this morning, and if we stand at this signpost and think back on all the things Todd has spoken to us about, there's just a lot of those things that are positive. There's a lot of those things that affect us negatively. There are a lot of those things that were stressful. There are a lot of those things that were trying. Man, there were so many things that were encouraging. There were some of the things that were just downright difficult. And some of those things were discouraging. But let me just say this. Every year will hold challenges for us. Each year will hold both great joy and great sadness. Todd referenced 2024. It's very easy when we got together to really want to, and we didn't do this, but we wanted to slap ourselves on the back and think about just how proud we were of this group and what we had accomplished. And in our discussions, we kept thinking about, we can't top this. We just can't. And then 2025 came along, and we did pretty good. We did pretty good. Well, I'm sorry that each year. I'm glad about the fact that each year will bring great joy for us. I'm sorrowful that each year will bring sadness, but that's why this world is not our home. Well, when we think about that, what about 2026? You know, the next year is fixing to be upon us, and this one's gone really fast. It seems like we just turned around, and the new year is here. Back in June, Larry and Jonathan and Grant asked us about the next year to come. They asked us about a theme for 2026, and so they could get started on looking at some material, and we started talking about that. And later, the three of us talked about that, and we talked about it in person. We talked about it through group text messages on Tuesday, June the 2nd, on Tuesday, June the 24th. The three of us were in a group text message and batting around some ideas, and this is what Jim sent. And I think there's a slide for this that the guys made up for us. And I'm going to read you what I went back and got this off the text message. And this is what Jim sent. He said, caring for each other, stewards of one another. We need to have a goal of keeping peace and putting others first. And for me and Todd, that was a hit. There was no more discussion was needed, and there's some verses associated with that you see up there, 1 Thessalonians 5 and 11, and we'll read that. 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 11 says, therefore encourage one another and build up one another, just as you also are doing. Todd referenced Susie being an encourager. We need to keep doing that. Ephesians 4 and 29 says, let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, that it may give grace to those who hear. I believe both those are wise counsel for us. And what we've talked to you about this before, and we want to continue that. We want to be encouraging and not discouraging. We want to build up and never tear down. It's Emily Petty, I believe, that I stole this from. And I think she got it from somebody else, but she said, you want to be a bucket filler. No, is it? Yeah, you want to be a bucket filler and not a bucket dipper. And I think that's wise. I probably slaughtered that. But I think that's wise. We need to fill each other's buckets. We need to provide a safe place. And we've talked to the guys about this. This needs to be a safe place, because being a Christian and seeking God is not something that most, I know folks who think that you've got to have everything figured out before you do that. And that's just not how that is. Jesus wants you to bring your baggage. And He'll accept you like you are. But He loves us so much that He'll transform us into something different. The gospel isn't for folks that they're not the elite. They haven't arrived. It's for the common people. And that's who we are. It's just not for those folks that have it all figured out. You know, when we look at coming in 2026, some things that are going on here in the congregation, some things that we've worked on so many. Todd talked about people being, the leadership. Everyone in here is a leader in one way or another. There are things that get done. Todd spoke about those things. There are things that get done that nobody even knows about. They just happen. You know who did that? A leader did that. Not me or Todd, but a leader did that. That's who did that. You know who you are. If you walk down the first hallway when you walk in the basement, and you walk all the way to the end on the left, two little bitty rooms that wouldn't be big enough for anything. The guys tore that wall out and redid that room, and now it's as big as a gymnasium in there. And it's in progress. It's not complete, and it may not be complete. It may take 4 or 5 years to fill that thing up, and that's okay. But there's shelves going up on the wall, and there's places to work, and it's a new resource room that's in progress for our teachers. That's because of all of you, because of your generosity and your hard work, and those things will continue. We mentioned this on Wednesday night. Our new website is almost, as of tomorrow, it'll be a week old being online. And the guys, the IT guys, worked tirelessly on that. Jeff Spears spent untold hours. I don't know how many hours because everything that's on there had to be inputted. And so it's a lot of information, and he did that. So thank him for doing that. And thank those guys for working on that. And that's going to be a work in progress too. It'll just keep getting better and better. In 2026, we have talked about this again, and let's look back from the signpost a minute. In 2025, we had something we called hearing from the heart of the shepherds. We just talked to the group about some things concerning the group here. We had positive response about that, and we talked about doing that again sometime in 2026, and we'll let you know as those things come up. But another thing that Todd brought up, and we think is a good idea, that sometime we'll let you know about these things when they're going to happen too. Both Todd and myself both will take a time and preach sometime here early in 2026 and just address the group about some things that we think are important. Now, when we go to our classes for next year, we'll continue on. The next slide concerns our lower grade classes, and that's our Shaping Hearts material. We're in the third year of that. That material allows them to cover the entire Bible in 3 years. So in that 6-year progression, they'll be able to go through the Bible 2 complete times, and we'll continue on with that. Then you can switch to the next slide, Grant. I don't mean Grant, I mean Matt. I'm looking at Grant and saying Matt's name. Grant has worked. It is whether you realize this or not, it is very, very difficult in our day and time to find material for middle schoolers. There's just not a lot of things that are available. There's a lot of things out there, but it's no good. A lot of it's not any good. Grant has worked tirelessly and gone through some things, and he's found material for our middle school class. They're going to study parables, and those are pictures of the book. They're going to study parables in the first quarter. They're going to study Against All Odds. It's helping teens to develop an unshakable faith. In the third quarter, they're going to talk about Where Faith Meets Life. It's a study of James. And in the fourth quarter, they're going to talk about A Case for Christ. Evidences for Jesus. And those are all good things. And we're indebted to the teachers that agree to teach those classes. And then flip to the next slide. This is a little bit of a change from what we've done before. Our high school, our young adults, and our auditorium class will all be using the same book each quarter. Now, one peculiar change to that in quarter one, our young adults and our auditorium class will be together, and that's key because of the book that we're going to study. It's called Building Up One Another: Pursuing Love in a Local Church. It's on the screen there. I'm looking at it back there, but there's the book by Wilson Adams. One peculiar thing that Wilson has never done. And we talked to him about. He's excited about that. He'll be here on January the 4th to start off this study. So we'll have the high schoolers and everybody in here together for that Sunday when he starts that off. He's excited about that. We asked him about that. He said he'd never done that before, but he was excited to do that, and he will do that. So we'll all 3 of those classes be together that first Sunday morning of the first quarter. On through the year, in the first quarter, our young adults and the auditorium class will be together that whole first quarter. And that's key. And if you look at the title of the book, Building Up One Another, there's a reason for that. It's because we need to be together, and we need to build up one another. And so if you're one of the folks on Wednesday night, and again this morning, there were 14 people in that class, in that young adults class, and there were a few that were not here due to different reasons. But that's a lot of folks. Sometimes it wasn't, but it was almost busting at the seams this morning, but sometimes it is busting at the seams. Um, but that is important, and it's going to be important for you young folks to be involved in that study, and it's going to be important for you who are a little older, got a little white hair, to be involved in that. That's going to be key, and we'll provide books for everybody for all 4 of these quarters. We'll be doing that. When we look on to the second quarter, the next book is called From Fear to Faith. It's a book by Matt Allen. The subtitle under the book is Finding Greater Hope, Stronger Confidence, and Deeper Trust in God's Promises. And like I say, we'll teach all these in the high school, in the young adult, and in the auditorium class. And in that second quarter, those young adults will go back down to their classroom and they'll begin that as well. Then in the third quarter, we switch to another Wilson Adams book. It's called God's Amazing Grace, the Sweetest Sound of All. We'll switch to that. We haven't got this nailed down, but we'll get with Wilson. I heard from him this morning early, and he's looking forward to being with us just here shortly. But we'll get with him and see if he would come and be willing to teach a class or 2 during that quarter for us. And I'm sure if we can make our schedules work, those will work out. Then in the fourth quarter, we're going to do a book you see there. It's called Those Who Walk by Faith, Trusting in the Individual Promises of God. It's another book by Matt Allen. It's got a lot. All of these books have something in common. They cause us to think. They cause us to want to study our Bible, and that's one thing that me and Todd talk about a lot. Todd mentions this a lot. Maybe I don't as much as I should. Todd talks a lot about reading your Bible. And all of this hinges on that very thing. Some things that, as far as event-wise, I told you about January the 4th. That Wilson will be here to start that book, that first book up, Building Up One Another. He'll also preach for us that Sunday. Then on April the 1st, that's the Wednesday night before the second quarter begins. Due to some scheduling conflicts, Matthew Allen will be here that Wednesday evening to preach for us. And then on April the 12th through the 15th, Lowell Salee will be here. That's a Sunday through a Wednesday meeting. He'll deliver 6 lessons for us for our spring gospel meeting. And then on October the 11th through the 14th, Matthew Allen will be back with us for a Sunday to Wednesday meeting, and that'll be 6 lessons that he will give to us also. We don't have dates set for this yet, but Todd spoke about the success of Ladies' Day in 2025, and due to that success, we want to continue that for a Ladies' Day 2026. And we'll let you know as soon as those things and those schedules work out and we can get those things working together. As to the Welcome Back to WKU event, we sure hope that the Chamber of Commerce does that in 2026. I've been fortunate enough. I still go back to year before last in 2024 when Brian and they came to us and said, "Can we order 250 Bibles?" And I hate to say this, but in my mind, I was thinking we're never going to give away 250 Bibles. You know, we've only got a 3-hour period. There's no way we'll have those for 5 or 10 years. And in an hour and 10 minutes, we were sitting there with our faces hung out because we didn't have anything to give away. And I still refer back to that when those young people on that hill come and say, if I had not been there, I don't think I would have believed it. When they look and they say, "Can I have a Bible?" I've never had my own copy of the Bible. And I kept saying that to Jim Whiteside. And Jim said, "Brett, I didn't know anything about the Bible when I was that age either." And then he talked about, how happy he was that Donna shared those things with him. But in this day and time, it amazes me that somebody doesn't have their own Bible. I still remember a young lady that came up and asked for a second Bible for a friend of hers. But then we did that again this year. And I think we gave out between 500 and 600, about 550 Bibles in 3 hours. There are people out there in the world who are hurting and we have the medicine. And it's up to us to give them that medicine. And there are folks, just like Todd mentioned, there are folks that I hear that found out about the gospel. And they may not have come in this door, but they came in a door somewhere. And that's how they found out about that, was up on that hill. We need to continue that. If you have never been involved in that, I would encourage you to be involved in that. If you only wanted to come up there and sit in a chair and look and see what goes on, it would be beneficial to you. Because I believe what you would see is a modern day Jerusalem. And these people who need Jesus that are there. And guess what? There's some folks there that ain't perfect, and they know Jesus, and they've got something to give them. And I think that's an example for us. And I think we want to continue to do that. Throughout the year, as they become available, and we did this some in 2025 as it became available, as we had a few guest speakers. We've talked to some other folks that want to come and do that, and we hope to be able to do that. Sometimes those schedules just don't work out. The timing just doesn't work out. So we'll continue to work on that. One of those young men, Mike Richardson, we wanted to get him up here. He's down in Nashville. Mike put an article from him in the bulletin this morning. But he's a fine young man. He was trained by Robert Jackson. He reminds me a lot of Robert Jackson when he preaches. He doesn't preach very long. He'll preach about 25 minutes. Everybody like him. Larry shaking his head like that. But we'll continue to do that. I'm going to tell you about a new opportunity. And me and Todd know about enough about this just to be dangerous, to tell you the truth. But we're working on it. We were brought an idea about something, and we went and asked Mike about it because it would involve him. And what that is we're looking into having an intern for the summer. What that would mean is a young man, a freshman, sophomore, junior, that in between his college classes, he, instead of going out and working at McDonald's, nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, but instead of doing that, he works with a congregation for a set period of time, and then he goes back to school. And many places all over the country do that, but we talked to Mike about that first before we pursued it any, and he said, and one of the reasons for that is Mike mentioned that. He's mentioned that a couple times about guys who wanted to preach. Well, this may be an opportunity. So we asked him about that. He's on board with that. And where we are right now in that is we received the information that, if I counted right, it's a sheet. It has 19 men's names on that sheet. And hopefully we can get in touch with those men. We're in the process of looking over those things right now. And hopefully we can get in touch with those men and see if those men, some of them have already done this. Some of them have done it every year. They started that one between their freshman and sophomore year, and then they went on and did it sophomore to junior year, and then junior to senior year. And they progressed on. Some of them go back to the same congregation. Some of them go to different congregations and do that. And some of them are deciding. Some of them, they want to preach for a living. Some of them are not sure whether that's what they want to do or not. It makes me wonder whether the ones that said, well, maybe I want to do that, I wonder if where they went, they didn't get treated very nice. I shouldn't think like that, but I just know reality, and that's how that is. So that's an opportunity that, if that works out, gives us a great opportunity to be an influence in the kingdom of God. As far as resources that we have, as soon as the year turns over, just a few days ago, Chris Emerson, I know several of you, and we keep these in the back, Chris Emerson's Bible devotional books. The new one that he put out on Genesis was printed about 2 weeks ago. It just came off the press, and we've got some of those, and we'll have those for you available in the back as soon as the year turns over. There's some other stuff that's in the shipping that is coming to us, some other resources that we have as far as books and tracts, as far as reaching folks and introducing them to the church of our Lord. And we want to continue to try to do that and help people with that. I know many of us have used that number one Chris Emerson devotional book to reach someone who didn't think they knew anything about the Bible or just thought that, I don't know. I'm not sure. When I read the Bible, I just don't know. I just don't understand it. That goes back to what I said earlier about reading your Bible and how important that is. Well, those are some of the things, but when we question ourselves, how will we be able to accomplish all that? I want to read 2 verses out of 1 Chronicles that gives us 6 things that King David gave to his son Solomon, or told to his son Solomon. We've been studying about this in the last few weeks in the young adults class, and I just think these verses are just really keen. In the 28th chapter of 1 Chronicles, verse 9 and 10, listen to what this says. It says, and let me say this before I read this. This is why I heard a young lady last week who told me that she was mad at herself, and she's been a Christian a long time. She was mad at herself because some verses that she had read her whole entire life, and she had never seen them before. I don't know about you, but I've had that happen lots of times. It all has to do, that's why it's so important to read our Bibles. But listen to these 2 verses. Verse 9 says, As for you, my son, this is King David talking to his son Solomon. He'll be the king. As for you, my son Solomon, know the God of your father and serve him with a whole heart and a willing mind. For the Lord searches all hearts, and he understands every intent of the thoughts. If you seek him, he'll let you find him. Let's read that again. If you seek him, he'll let you find him. But if you forsake him, he'll reject you forever. Listen to verse 10. Consider now, for the Lord has chosen you to build a house for the sanctuary. Be courageous, David says, and act. Be courageous and act. Well, that has to do with us reading our Bibles, praying to God, and developing a personal relationship with Jesus. King David gave these 6 things in those 2 verses. First of all, he said, know God personally. Second, learn God's commands and come to understand what he had created you to do. Number 3, worship God with your whole heart and devotion. Number 4, serve God having a willing mind. Number 5, be faithful to God. And number 6, never get discouraged. I'm going to just tell you, when God's on your side, you're not going to be discouraged. You just can't be. I know many of you, and we spoke of this earlier, many of you here follow Wilson Adams. You follow him on social media, and you know I don't do any social media or anything like that, and that's okay. But many of you follow him and the things that he writes each and every day. But he wrote something the other day. It says, be the difference. Be the difference. Here's what he wrote. Be the difference. Many of you have already seen this. Be the difference with your hug. Be the difference with your smile, with your gift of grace, with your touch of kindness, with your heart for the hurting, with your prayer to lift the lowly, with your words of encouragement, with your compassion for the lonely, with your patience for the struggling, with your love that rises above hatred. He goes on to say, it's the season to be the difference, to be thankful for your blessings, to discover the blessings of giving, sharing the joy of hope, to light the way. Share that. Be a difference with your touch. That's what we need to do today. Ask God to heighten your awareness. Look around your world. You won't have to look far. Your street, your store, your work, your church family. Be the light someone needs. Smile, share, shine. Let your light shine that others may see the greatest result, and that's the glory of God. Now, that all sounds really good, and there are some times in there that we're going to have to share the sorrow too, and that's what we do. So that's how we're going to do that, and that's all I got to say. Mike.